Let's talk about 你好钱. According to Political, with the article titled, Lawmakers have a fix for Taiwan's weapon backlog, built them on the island. The U.S. lawmakers who are wary of China's aggressive moves in the region want to allow Taiwan to build some U.S.-designed systems themselves under license in a bid of unclog the pipelines for such as fighter jets and also tanks, drones, and missiles. Yet the question is this actually doable? Today, we're very honored to invite Tony Hu. Tony is the former Senior Director for China, Taiwan, Mongolia Affairs for the Office of the Secretary of Defense for the Pentagon. Thank you, Tony. It's such a great honor to have you.
My pleasure to be here.
The first question will be that we know that the U.S., according to Taiwan Relations Act, that the United States has the obligation to provide Taiwan with defensive weapons, but provide doesn't equal to produce. So producing weapons in Taiwan, does it also relate to this act?
Actually, Taiwan Relations Act only stipulates the United States should ensure Taiwan has a viable self-defense capability. It doesn't say where that defense capability should come from. Certainly, production in Taiwan is possible.
Hasn't been done before?
Well, if you just look at the recent upgrade of the F-16s, for example, it's done here in Taiwan. So it has been done before, and certainly it is an option to look at. Okay. However, I think right now Taiwan's biggest obstacle is a capacity limitation, where if you recall, the last administration, President Tsai has directed National Chongshan Institute of Science and Technology to, I think, double, triple the production of the Xiongfeng and the Tiangong missiles, the anti-ship and anti-aircraft missiles for Taiwan. And they are pretty much at max capacity. If the United States was able to transfer some things over for Taiwan to produce, how is that going to be done? So I think there is a capacity issue in Taiwan right now. So can it be done in Taiwan? It certainly can be looked at, and it's possible because Taiwan has a very well-educated workforce and very good precision equipment. It's already producing these type of things. So possibility is there, but I think there's a capacity limitation.
So it's possible, it's doable, and it has been done previously, but probably not in a large scale. So why are the U.S. lawmakers now bringing it up at this current moment?
I think right now we are looking at what we can do to help Taiwan. Everything that's within the realm of possibility. Is Taiwan wanting to make the investment to increase its capacity? We don't know. So maybe that's an angle they're looking at, saying, hey, if this is a possibility, will you be willing to invest?
And we know that people say that there is still a lot of weapons that the U.S. owe to Taiwan. Do you agree on this term?
Well, I think this is the most common misperception that the United States owes Taiwan. Yes, there's about $1.9 billion of letter of offer acceptance that's signed that the United States is willing to sell to Taiwan. But did Taiwan pay for those yet? No, because in a offer of letter of acceptance, Taiwan has a payment schedule where all this new system, the productions, Taiwan only pay every 90 days. On that 90 days, they pay for the next 90 days projected production requirement, money that's needed for the production of, let's say, F-16s, okay? For the next 90 days, we will see, okay, how many is being built, and how much money is made. So Taiwan make that payment. So Taiwan only make a payment every 90 days. And right now, in the beginning of stages of all these procurements, the drones, the missiles, the airplane, you have to remember these weapon systems are put together by thousands of little parts, okay? So in the front, you're just buying the components and parts. You're not making airplane or missiles or drones. So the payment is like a bell curve. In the beginning, the payment is very low, and that's what Taiwan is paying now because they're paying for making those parts and components. Later on, when you actually start assembling these and make the airplanes and the missiles, there's the production, assembly costs, and the making of the parts costs. So eventually, it becomes more and more, the payment becomes more and more. So right now, let me complete the payment schedule, actually. as the payment come more and more, especially in the middle, when you're making so many airplanes and making parts for the later airplanes, so you make the maximum payment. And after a while, you don't make parts and components. You already got everything you need to make the remaining airplane. So it goes down. The bell curve goes down. So right now, Taiwan, for all these systems,
it's still at the first stage.
In the very beginning stage, they are making minimum payments. So using the word O
isn't accurate.
Isn't accurate because Taiwan hasn't paid. Taiwan is only buying the little component and parts right now. So, and also I think one point is important to point out that this delay is not just affecting Taiwan, it's affecting everybody, including US forces. Okay, what caused this delay? People say, oh, it's because Ukraine war. United States is more interested in protecting Ukraine than Taiwan. Okay,
that's not the reason.
This is some of the bad information that people are putting out. No, Ukraine war is going on now. They need the weapons now. They don't have time to wait for the production. Okay.
Because people don't have the logic of this production process, so they thought it's because of Ukraine.
Right, they think there's a store there, you just buy it and take it over. No, the stuff that went to Ukraine went from U.S. War Reserve stock. That's in Europe.
That was in stock already.
That's already in
ready
Europe.
To use.
Because United States have this type of War Reserve stock in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia. Just in case there's some conflict, you can't wait for the production. So you pre-purchase, have all this stuff stored in bunkers. So when Ukraine needed this stuff, it's coming out of the bunkers, okay? So they can use it right away.
I see.
So it has nothing to do with the production, okay? What caused the delay? COVID. During COVID, many of these companies that make these parts and components went out of business or changed their business. They don't make these aircraft parts anymore. They open a fried chicken shop or something, right? Either they closed or they changed business. Now you need it again, that little screw. You have to qualify this company to make sure they
can. That may take months.
Take months or years
or
because
years.
You have to check they don't have connection with China. They can protect the secret, okay? Then they produce the first article, the first screw. Then that have to be tested because it has to withstand temperature, tensile strength. If you can imagine thousands of these parts, hundreds of these companies have to be requalified. Parts have to be recertified before it can be put on the missile, the airplane, the tank, the ship, okay? It's a long process, but it's a necessary process. You cannot have a weak screw. One screw can kill your whole airplane, okay? So this is what caused the delay. And when I was in Raytheon, I experienced something similar to this, where the supply source went away. Holy cow, they closed. What we're gonna do? We're gonna go find another company and make sure the company ownership is not part of Chinese right? So you qualify them, you certify the parts. It literally takes years.
Definitely.
Okay, so the delay mainly is caused by that. Like I said, it's not just Taiwan. F-16s, all the countries that bought the Block 70 F-16, they all delayed. Bahrain just got their first one, okay? So I think it's important for people to understand that this is not because United States doesn't care about Taiwan and don't care about delay.
Or because any of the international warfares.
No, it isn't, and it's not just one company. It's affecting all the companies.
Yes.
So that's the reason for the delay.
So it's not, we couldn't use the word O. It should be rephrased as delayed, and delayed because of a lot of reasons. Like you said, a tiny screw might affect the entire plane. It might affect, like in Chinese, it's called 牵一发动全身. Okay. So which are the weapons can you specify that might be possibly produced in Taiwan?
I think it's important for Taiwan to look at the things that they can achieve first, like a low-hanging fruit, okay? Don't go for
step by step,
building step, yeah. Because United States government do not produce any weapon. It's only US contractors. So it's important for Taiwan company to work with the US contractors on what is within the realm of possibility. And the only reason a U.S. contractor will come to Taiwan is when Taiwan can produce something that is better, cheaper, or faster. Otherwise, there's no reason to come, right?
Yes.
Or a combination of the three, better, cheaper, or faster. So we should have Taiwan's defense industry work with U.S. defense industry to identify those areas. And then from that area, then you develop specific projects and maybe go from components first before you do the system and grow from that.
Well, speaking of visiting Taiwan, there is a group of 25, defense contractors, Americans, visited Taiwan last year. Does that include what you just said? Maybe they think it's cheaper, it's faster, it's more beneficial?
Yeah, actually, I was in that conference with them, and I met with many of them. And I told them, one of the biggest advantages Taiwan has is well-educated workforce. Taiwan has very smart engineers that can do tremendous things. Taiwan also has a lot of precision machineries that can do some very detailed precision work that can produce really high quality stuff. So it just needs to be somehow bring the Taiwan industry and U.S. defense industry together. And that's what the purpose of that group, they came over to look at it. And that was sponsored by U.S. Taiwan Business Council. And U.S. Taiwan Business Council group is here this week. They just arrived, and my good friends are here. United States is always looking for opportunity to help Taiwan. And I think there are opportunities. It just need to be found.
Well, logistics are also very important in, warfares. As we have purchased the 400 land-based Harpoon missiles from the U.S., yet it's denied the opportunity to have them service in Taiwan. So does that mean that the U.S. actually isn't that confident in military productions in Taiwan?
Oh, not at all. I think the reason for the denial, there could be so many reasons, but the fact is, there are many of this sustainment type related technology that's already transferred to Taiwan. For example, the F-16 maintenance, and I can speak about this and try to keep it unclassified. Taiwan has 10 Patriot fire units, and these units all require overhaul, periodic overhaul. In the old days, maybe 14 years ago, the original 3 fire unit that was protecting Taiwan, when they were due for overhaul, they had to be shipped back to the United States and be absent from Taiwan for about 9 months at a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. And that wasn't a good idea when you reduce Taiwan's capability to ship the things back to the US for overhaul. Now the entire overhaul capacity has been transferred to Taiwan. So no unit needs to go ship back to the U.S. So basically it saves hundreds of millions of dollars and months of time, because all this can be done here, because Taiwan Ministry of National Defense decided, I will make the investment, I will build these plants, I will buy this equipment that's required, I will train my people. And that's a great success story, because that plant's been in operation for years. For 7 years, 8 years now, and they have done a tremendous job making sure the Patriot system remains operational, combat ready. And in addition, there are other things in other military depots that is taking care of the tanks, that's repairing the U.S. tanks, the U.S. aircraft C-130s and all that, the engine stuff. And if you know that fantastic big radar on top of乐山, many of those parts and components are being repaired in Taiwan, in one of the depots down south. That technology was transferred. So you use the Harpoon. Usually the assessment and the technology release and all that work takes quite a long time, okay? So Taiwan can request, and probably best to work with the manufacturer first, and see what portion of that maintenance, that repair can be transferred. And that's how we did it with Patriot. and the big radar, we identify those areas where Taiwan can do something, and we transfer. So it's important to work with the U.S. side, okay, identify the right stuff, and then start working on that. If you just ask a very broad question, it's very hard to have a good answer.
Indeed. Well, yes, that is another concern that's just got clarified by you. Okay, so another concern that people have about manufacturing weapons in Taiwan is that does it increase the risk of military secret leak out? Because, there's this process of producing, transferring and stuff. How do we mitigate the risk?
What a great question. This is a risk that the United States also faces, every country faces, because our enemies always try to steal things, try to find out things. So there are security systems in place, obviously, as far as making sure your computer doesn't get hacked and having the firewalls. And the military personnel, they are well indoctrinated. And one of the weak points that Taiwan had before was the civilian workforce, where civilian workforce did not have the type of security classification and background check as the military members. And my understanding is about 5 years ago, the Defense Procurement Office in MND, Taiwan Ministry of National Defense, did implement a new program to make sure the civilian workforce, such as those in the National Songshan Institute of Science and Technology, the China Shipbuilding, all those civilian workforce also are subject to background checks, security classification process. And the thing is, I think it's important to make sure the sense of loyalty, the sense of protection of classified, the sense of how their action could damage national security is instilled in people from early stages of their career where they are exposed to classified information. And a certain area, you even have to have a higher classification where, like in the United States, we have what we call PRP, Personnel Reliability Program, for those of us who were in charge of nuclear weapon and other special programs where we self-monitor. Like today, my voice is bad because I have sinus infection and I'm taking medication. Under the PRP, if I'm taking any medication that's not prescribed by a flight surgeon, I will not be able to touch anything related to the nuclear weapon, or I will not be allowed to get in the airplane, anywhere near the airplane.
Wow.
And because as you're not 100%, not only you might make a mistake, you might say something, you might talk about something. And also they look at, we monitor each other. Somebody all of a sudden became rich, okay? Or somebody who just subject to divorce and is emotionally non-stable. Will there be give our enemies an opportunity?
When they're fragile.
When they're fragile.
Yeah.
Okay, stuff like that. So it's a special level of program, but the bottom line is a young soldier, a young civilian who joined this type of program, or old, need to continue to think about this. It become part of the psyche, the culture of protecting national security. And I think that's what's needed. And certainly the patriotism that's required, and I think Taiwan's biggest issue is some people are so easy to be exploited by the communist side because their culture link, the emotional link with the other side.
So there's definitely a lot of risk.
Yes.
If we're manufacturing U.S. weapons in Taiwan, there's a lot of risk. Also, there might be a risk of escalating tensions with China because China might be monitoring this, seeing this everything going on and be like, oh, so there's like more connection, there's no more bonding with U.S. and Taiwan. As U.S. and Taiwan's getting better relations, see like U.S. trusting Taiwan this much that they can manufacture weapons in Taiwan. It's such unbelievable thing probably to China. So this might be like a warning signal. This might be escalating tensions. What's your view on this?
You know, a great question. Long time ago, when I was in Washington, D.C., some people in our government somehow felt or mistaken not pissing China off
as the right thing to do.
And U.S. interest, okay? Sure, certainly we don't have, it's U.S. interest to keep peace. But doing the right thing to protect U.S. interests pisses China off. You do the U.S. interest thing. You don't care about pissing China off, okay? Because pissing China off or not is not a core U.S. national security interest. It's an element. But we need to do what we do to protect the security of Asia-Pacific. If doing what we do, such as deploying our ships in Asia-Pacific, ensure freedom of navigation, piss China off, we're going to do that. Because we've got to protect the sea lane and say, this is not yours, okay? Taiwan need to think the same thing. Taiwan has a bad neighbor, for example. You got a bad neighbor saying, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to hit you. You say, well, I'm going to build a wall so you can't hit me. Well, if you build a wall, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to hit you. So do you build a wall? You still have to build a wall, yeah. Right? Whether he's pissed or not, okay?
Because you have to defend yourself.
You have to defend yourself. You cannot allow your security to be in the hands of the person who threatened you. Because he might be happy with you today, but he might be mad at you tomorrow and hit you. So you can never handle your security to the other guy. So you protect yourself, even if it pisses off the other guy, okay? So I think it's important for people in Taiwan to understand that whether China gets mad or not, it's better if he's not mad. But it's even better if you protect yourself. So even when he's mad, there's not much you can do to you. Okay, so I think I put it in that way, it's easier to understand.
Definitely easier to understand. And I think that's a great mindset that every Taiwanese people should ponder more about it, to think more about it, and to really reshape our view of our neighbors, international and neighbors globally, right?
Right.
Thank you so much, Tony, for joining us today.
My pleasure, thank you.
Thank you.